Ready?
Hello.
Good morning, sis.
Nice meeting you here. Hello.
Good morning, family. Thank you for joining us again.
Yes.
Look, oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Welcome back. You made it to 133.
Yeah. Big leap.
Yeah, a big leap. Yeah, they're getting deep, aren't they, sis? These are getting pretty meaty.
Well, I think it's the next 10 lessons, though the next 9 lessons or so. From what my memory reveals, I think it's from about lesson 131 to 140 is like a huge step up.
Yeah.
Taking us almost vertical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we're doing these lessons and we're really into them, we can actually, if we're sensing enough, we can actually feel or sense the what I call G force, meaning the God force, or the vibration behind the lesson. Yeah. And you could feel it reverberating through everything.
I have been.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I want to talk to those that are like Coreen, in that if anything goes over 30 minutes, I won't watch it or read it or be with it. I mean, I'm just being radically honest.
What about the chosen?
Oh, well, that's different. I kind of got a crush on the Jesus guy. So yeah, I'll watch that all day long, Anyway. No, I just seeing if there's like a Facebook post or there's a video, someone says, oh, check it out. And it's more than 20 minutes. I'm usually kind of like, but that's not me. Okay. That's the ego's resistance. And so and I know people pop in and they look at how long these videos are. And so I want to just encourage you that it's totally worth it, that everything that we're sharing and providing, it has to be done here or so-called later, right? You can stave it off, but at some point we must do it. So let's just do it together. Let's really take each one apart and get as much as we can, all the layers. There's lots of rings, lots of offshoots, and Sis and I are, so we become animated and excited about it as we're unpacking it with you, because we can feel our minds healing. So it's definitely healing your mind, and you are worth it. So let's lock arms and stay totally undivided and joined as we make our way through these lessons. Will you do that for me, please?
Yeah.
It helps me.
Thank you for that pep talk, sis. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Pep, 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 pep. Feeling peppy now? Yes.
Good.
Yeah, but it's not our resistance. That's my point.
Yes, just the ego's resistance.
That's right. Ego doing what the ego does. It's not your thinking. Yeah. Okay.
Good.
You want to read this one, sis?
I think you should read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will not value what is valueless. Sometimes in teaching, there is a benefit, particularly after you have gone through what seems theoretical and quite remote from what the student has already learned, to bring him back to practical concerns. This we will do today. We will not speak of lofty, world-encompassing ideas, but dwell instead on benefits to you.
This is practical, right?
Yes, right, because we've been talking about the world, right? Now let's just get back to, mythical me's going, well, what does this have to do with me? Well, here we go. You do not ask too much of life, but far too little.
That's a profound statement and so true. I didn't understand that, 15, 20 years ago. Yeah.
No.
Go on.
When you let your mind be drawn to bodily concerns, to things you buy, to eminence as valued by the world, you ask for sorrow, not for happiness. This course does not attempt to take from you the little that you have, It does not try to substitute utopian ideas for satisfactions that the world contains. There are no satisfactions in the world.
Ooh, wow. I love that statement. Mm, yes.
Yeah. So we're not trying to wrench away real joys and real good and things that really satisfy. We're simply being willing to look at what we thought satisfied. There's something so much greater that we're all entitled to and actually possess.
Yeah.
Okay. So today we list the real criteria by which to test all things you think you want. Unless they meet these sound requirements, they are not worth desiring at all, for they can but replace what offers more. The laws which govern choice you cannot make, no more than you can make alternatives from which to choose. The choosing you can do, indeed, you must. And it is wise to learn the laws you set in motion when you choose, and what alternatives you choose between.
So, just for me, I have a very simple mind.
Yeah.
Um, at this point, there are only two choices to make. We either choose what is valuable or we choose what is valueless. All right. So, what is valueless is going to harm us
Mm-hmm.
because, of course, it's an attraction to guilt and self-attack, whatever form it takes. Yeah. And so here he's helping us to become more conscious of what is valuable and what is valueless. In other words, he's giving us some steps for us to do some radical self-inquiry to find out, what is valuable and to recognize what is valuable and what is valueless. Because for most of us, when we begin the course, we have no clue how to differentiate between the valueless and the valuable, right?
Yeah.
Is that where we're going?
Yeah, well, when we start the course, we don't even know that we have a choice. We really think that the world is happening to us,
Well,
and
that's
that
true.
the choice is like between what the ego says is good and what the ego says is bad, and we don't want that. So we're choosing between options out there.
Right.
But he's saying you guys have a whole nother choice. Did you know? And one is valuable and one is valueless. So now we sit there and go, okay, well, how do I know the difference, right? Because I'm still thinking that car is going to make me happy, or my special relationship is the end all, right?
Or more sex, yeah.
Oh yeah, lots of sex, chocolate. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I love you, sis. We have already stressed there are but two. However many there appear to be, the range is set, and this you cannot change. It would be most ungenerous to you to let alternatives be limitless and thus delay your final choice until you had considered all of them in time and not been brought so clearly to the place where there is but one choice which must be made. Many times I've heard people refer the choiceless choice, right? It's not really a choice when only one is real and one isn't, but yeah, let's keep going. Another kindly and related law is that there is no compromise in what your choice must bring. It cannot.
So there's no compromise. What's he mean? Okay. There's no compromise in what your choice must. Okay. All right. I've got it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So what you choose brings certain results. You can't mix and match and have a little of this, and it's not a buffet. Another kindly and related law is that there is no compromise in what your choice must bring. It cannot give you just a little, for there is no in between. Each choice.
Go on.
What's that?
No gray area here. It's black or white, right?
Yes, yes. Each choice you make brings everything to you or nothing.
Ooh. Talk about contrast, extreme contrast.
Boy, this is really brings it up in your face.
Yeah.
Like, once you accept this, then you're really like accountable. You're going to have to really look at what it is that you're choosing. Do I want everything or nothing? Therefore, if you learn the tests by which you can distinguish everything from nothing, you will make the better choice. Okay, so he's going to start outlining how we know when we've chosen everything or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
First, if you choose a thing that will not last forever, what you choose is valueless. A temporary value is without all value. Time can never take away a value that is real. What fades and dies was never there and makes no offering to him who chooses it. He is deceived by nothing in a form he thinks he likes.
Wow. Wow. What would come under that category?
Oh, bodies that rose.
Right.
Somewhere in this beautiful text, Jesus says, again, if anything changes by nature, it is false. So we're looking beyond form to qualities, to ideas, because those cannot be changed. They don't decay. They can't cheat. They don't abandon. They don't come and go. A temporary value is without all value. Go ahead.
So, good sis. So, would you agree that probably at the top of that tree would be relationships?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
So, but according to the ego's perception and its world, relationships do change.
Mm-hmm. Frequently.
Right? Because it's the ego that's having a relationship with another ego.
That's right.
Okay.
And the point of that relationship is a body, which changes.
Okay.
Okay, so if something changes, if it can be killed, if it can decay, if it can be taken from you and restored again, only to be taken away, there's zero value to it, because time will never take anything away from you that has value. All right, so that's our first test. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't last forever, it has no value.
Good.
All right, next. If you choose to take a thing away from someone else, special love, you will have nothing left. This is because when you deny his right, your brother's right to everything, you have denied your own.
Okay, I have a little note here. Okay, just to support that, is any attempt to bargain someone down, and we do that all the time, not just when we're purchasing things, but when we're in our special relationships, we attempt to bargain someone down, is nothing less an attempt than an attempt to actually rob them. And we can't rob another without robbing ourselves.
And why is that?
Well, because there's just one of us here. Is there anything I've missed?
No, that's so good. I'm just thinking, though, like the whole business model, really, it's like there's built in at some point, it was here's some value and there's a value exchange because somebody seemed to have more corn than somebody else had more, I don't know, wheat. But nowadays it's, puff up the value and overcharge to make a profit, to make others happy. But somewhere in that, there's a knowing that you've taken advantage of somebody, and that instills guilt. And when we do that, we think, oh, I've taken from my brother. I'm somehow at an advantage. He's at a disadvantage. Well, like our sis said, there's one of us here. So what have you just done? You cannot have an advantage. There's no way that you can gain if any of the sonship loses. And look at what Jesus says about the special relationship, that euphoric, romantic, oh my gosh, I can't stop thinking about them, don't want to be without them. That's actually where the ego sees something in someone else and says, I want that. So I'm going to make an exchange for my loathsome self for what I see as a better something in somebody else. And there's this mutual exchange, but both people feel worthless. So there's an inner lacking, and they go, oh, I'm going to exchange nothing to get something. And therein lies the start of the resentment, scorekeeping, people pleasing, all of that. Gross, inauthentic relating that just heaps guilt, which the ego just loves, right? Okay.
Well, that's it. Because I mean, ultimately, what we secretly do is we say, you're responsible for my happiness, and God damn you, if you don't meet it,
yes,
I'm going to cut you off.
That's right.
I won't love you anymore. Right?
And we call that puppy love.
Oh, yeah, right.
So bad. Well, so this is great. So if it changes, it's no good.
No, that's right. Any, like you said, any attempt to gain from another's loss is self-attack, right? Because and any attempt to gain from somebody else's loss is going to amount to more self-deprivation for us in the end. We may not realize it because it comes, the ego uses or projects it in a different form. So we get sick, or we have an accident, or something happens, and we have no idea through the ego that that's directly related to us trying to, gain from somebody else's loss, right?
Right. Yes, that guilt gets projected out in, countless forms, and we'll always think, oh, it's an accident caused by slippery roads. No, that accident was actually a projection of the guilt in your mind that you didn't want to feel inside of yourself, so you put it out there, and you're blaming the weather.
Oh, you can see why this dream has gone on for millions, if not billions of years, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to see? Who wants to be accountable for everything they've projected through, a mythical me?
Yeah, well, I do. That's why I'm not popular anymore.
I take you out.
Thanks, babe. I like Chinese.
Very funny.
Gosh. Okay. So
let's go back.
This is because when you deny your brother's right to everything, you have denied your own. You therefore will not recognize the things you really have, denying they are there. Who seeks to take away has been deceived by the belief that loss can offer gain. Yet loss must offer loss and nothing more. Yeah. When somebody loses, we all lose. When one is blessed, we're all blessed. Yeah. Yeah. That's what Jesus says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, because he left that part out, but because they are you. He gave me permission.
They are you. And, another line too is learn to supply the lack you see in another. In other words, to learn to supply that, which is love. There's a lack of love in the other. We need to supply that supply that love. And as we give that love, as we supply that love, even if it's just a thought, we may not need to say anything about it, just a thought. Well, we're increasing it for them and ourselves, right?
So when we hear a call for love, the ego sees it as a call that they need something, and then we check in, well, I have it. Well, what can I barter and gain from it? But Holy Spirit hears a call for love and says, but we are love, so we can give liberally, and it's only to the one self that benefits.
Well, yeah. Something that sustained me for more than 20 years or so was learning. I found forgiveness was very difficult for me at first, particularly with those people whom I was convinced were, what would you say, unforgivable? What did you say?
I could say a lot, but I'm going to wait for you to give me a nice
unforgivable, right? Anyway, that's all gone now, thank God. But back then, I didn't want to forgive them. I didn't want to forgive them. But what helped me a lot learning about this is that there's either an expression of love or there's a call for love. There's nothing else, no matter what is happening. So what helped me during that period was when somebody was calling for love and they were being a total shithead.
There you go.
Sorry. Oh, okay. It's not very nice. But I would take a deep breath and then I would go within and ask. This is most of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would ask myself, and what would love do?
Exactly.
How would love respond to this call for love?
Yeah.
And that really helped me so much.
So that's the Holy Spirit's answer to this issue. To only see either recognizing love where it comes through, right? You see acts of love and kindness, or calls for love and supply it. That's the way that we'll never consider taking advantage. It rules out the whole idea of loss, getting at the expense of somebody else. Yeah, just made that connection. Thanks, sis.
Yeah, thank you.
A little slow. Okay. All right. So we're not taking away from the sonship, and it has to be eternal for it to be valuable. So your next consideration is the one on which the others rest. Okay. Why is the choice you make of value to you? What attracts your mind to it? What purpose does it serve? Here it is easiest of all to be deceived. For what the ego wants, it fails to recognize. It does not even tell the truth as it perceives it, for it needs to keep the halo which it uses to protect its goals from tarnish and from rust, that you may see how, quote, innocent it is.
This is, and Jesus speaks about this elsewhere as the face of innocence. The ego has this face of innocence. And we need to transcend this, most definitely, right? Okay. So what he's saying here, sis, correct me if I'm wrong, is we need to really stare it in the face and look at this and do some radical self-inquiry, right?
Yeah.
As to what the ego, what purpose does what the ego wants serve, right? That's what he's asking, isn't it?
Yeah. Who's making the choice from which mind, fear or love, ego or Holy Spirit? And what is it for? Why is it that you think that you want this? If you had it, what would you, to serve what end, right?
Yeah. One thing that helped me a lot with this was for my self-inquiry, being a journaler, journaling every day for years. I did, not so much anymore, don't need to, but I did when I first began with the course. Is this, like, I would always ask myself some way, does this choice benefit more than just me? Does this choice I'm about to make help me to transcend self-interests? That helped me tremendously, especially in my highly toxic, special love romantic relationship at the time when I first began. Yeah. So there's just something very practical to use. Does this choice benefit more than just me? So
you just nailed it. That's the bullseye, right? That's the question.
Yeah.
Am I doing this to transcend self-interest? Because everything else, mythical me, is doing it.
Yeah. If you look in the gap, in the middle of the gap, all the stuff that, don't you tell me you've lost it.
I got it.
Oh,
I carry this everywhere with me. I'm going to get a tattoo.
Oh, what is in the middle? What?
Right?
Look, when we look at everything in the middle, you can divvy that up. You can divide that up into what we believe will sustain us and complete us, mythical me, and what we believe will attack us. Right? Yes. So divide it in half to the positives of the ego, seeming positive, and the seeming negatives of the ego. So and they're the choices we make, right?
So yeah, just using personal experiences or whatever, right? It's like, what choices, what are the things that we do, pluses and minuses in the dream out there? Remember, the ego needs its substitutes for what God says has declared is good. Well, for the ego to keep us even cycling in this, there has to be something that we come up with that we say, oh, that's good, right? Special love, that's good. So in the world out there, there's going to be the negatives, like what? Lack, being broke, being sick, mental issues, depression, anxiety, weight issues, body issues, bullying, insecurities, sickness, disease, protecting yourself from what? The economy, weather, health, politics, COVID, the latest pandemic. Okay, right. So those, we would agree that those are the negatives. And then what are the positives? What are those upsides? Oh, we've got what? Worldly travel, special love, a beautiful or handsome body or physique, youth, big bank account, a sweet car,
sensual appetites,
food, business acumen, being a really good rescuer,
housekeeper,
the best, world's best mom. Yeah. So, okay. So here you go. We've got the good and the bad out there. And yet what the ego doesn't want you to recognize is all those things that you were just making decisions on, all those barterings, everything that you were just doing serves the same purpose, which was the first lie, that you were mythical me. And that's what he's going to talk about, the rust core. And this is the rusty core of it. It's this figure that does not exist, that you think you are. And everything that you do is to serve this. And the ego doesn't want you to know that. It wants you to get hung up on the issues and those things that you want to get.
Right. So sis, so what we're, through the ego, we believe that all our choices are within that tombstone, within that gap.
Right.
We believe, we go from a negative choice to a positive choice, right? So yes. I ate too much over the holiday season, and so now I'm going to go to the gym. That's my New Year's resolution, and I'm going to lose 35 pounds, right?
There you go.
And we feel real good.
That was some heck of a holiday, sis, 35 pounds.
Well, I don't know. A lot of turkey.
But yeah, you can see there's the negative, and then we swing over to, the positive. All
right. So tell me, what is valuable in any of that?
All of this goes. Even this figure right there has got to die, right? And all of these stories change, right? The physical senses even seem to dwindle and fatigue and stop, right, through decay. Nothing in here lasts forever. Well, what does? I bet you already know where I'm going.
Wow.
Oh my. The peace of God, does that change?
No.
Does the joy, does divine love, does God's abundance, right? Purpose? No, our purpose never changes. Christ's vision is eternal. Our health, the way that we're created, our condition, the holy instant, all of this, right? This is permanent. Wow. This is what the truth is. So this is valuable. This is valueless, no matter how plussy plus you think your plus is. It's not true.
How sexy it is.
I'm a dead sexy plus. Still can't deliver.
You gotta laugh. Yeah. Well, while you were speaking, something else came in, and I was like, "Well, what is?" So I'm having this internal conversation with the voice. And I'm saying, does this apply? How does this apply? Yes. Okay. So I'm just going to share it, right? Okay. A huge one to take us out of the valueless, which is the gap, and take us into the valuable. So we choose the valuable, is something that we're tempted to do every day through the ego, which is, and I'll just ask this question. And I do, you know, I've really trained myself. I have to say, I've trained myself with this one. This is the question. Will what I'm about to say to this other person increase their guilt or decrease their guilt?
So before you do anything or say anything in line with that, what's it for? Is this going to increase guilt or decrease guilt?
Well, for the other, you think in your relationships and in mine, right? How many times are we tempted to increase guilt in the other person? Be honest.
All the time before the path. Yes, all the time. Yeah. I would dump my story, my problems on others, you know? And why? So I, like you were saying before, to offload the guilt, the burden on my mind, give it to mom. That's what she's there for, right?
I did the same thing. Are we the only two people in the universe? Oh, forgive me, Father. Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Or in our special relationships. Look, what have you done for me lately? Because I've done da 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 da. Or how could you be like that after I've all done this for you, right? Oh, so sorry. Yeah, I was the worst. Yep.
Yes. Those days are over now.
Oh gosh.
You know, when we're tempted, we don't take the bait as often as we did before.
You know, I see it even coming now, and it's like the answer to all of this is to see your brother as yourself. You just won't do it when you're about ready to dump a truckload of whatever on somebody. You just recognize you're only doing it to the self, right? You can't do it to somebody else without literally doing it to yourself, and there's just one. So you don't do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's huge, that practice.
Yeah.
Always asking, you know, will what I'm about to say to this person increase guilt in them or decrease it?
I love it.
Okay.
Thanks, sis.
Thank you.
I was laughing when you were coming up with the question. I was watching the I Know Mind and Coreen racing, trying to figure out ahead of time what was Nouk going to say and what's the answer.
See, you missed it, didn't you?
I started laughing because I saw it right away. I said, oh my Lord. Okay.
That's the I Know Mind.
Okay, so back to, I'm in paragraph 8 for COA, about almost all the way through. It's yet is its camouflage a thin veneer.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
Yet is its camouflage a thin veneer, which could deceive but those who are content to be deceived. Yeah, we don't want to know the truth. Let's just look at smoke and mirrors. Its goals are obvious to anyone who cares to look for them. So the ego is not so very complicated once we put it under the microscope with Holy Spirit and going, what is ego? Why am I making this choice? It's really to bolster the first lie that I'm mythical me. And this is exactly what the ego does not want you to look at. Again, it wants you to stay focused out there on unreal problems and not question the first lie that says that, you know, you're that mythical, the person in the gap. Here is deception doubled. For the one who is deceived will not perceive that he has merely failed to gain. He will believe that he has served the ego's hidden goals. And though he tries to keep its halo clear within his vision, yet must he perceive its tarnished edges and its rusted core.
Don't you just love that rusted core? I had to laugh when I read that. Yeah.
Just call me Rusted Core from now on. RC. His ineffectual mistakes appear as sins to him because he looks upon the tarnish as his own, the rust a sign of deep unworthiness within himself. Okay, so this is the big lie, right? This is where I'm going to feel really heavy, depressed, without any hope at all. If I'm going to still look at everything and go, well, it's not real, but Coreen is really what I am. This is that positive separation that we keep talking about. We've got to make that separation, recognizing I am not this. This is not who I am. This rusted core and its story is not the child of God. And I am the child of God. So if we're identifying as mythical me, we have this ache, this deep, unsatiated, unsatisfying ache and emptiness within us, deep unworthiness within himself. He who would still preserve the ego's goals and serve them as his own makes no mistakes according to the dictates of his guide. The ego says, hey, this is just life. This is what we do. This guidance teaches it is error to believe that sins are mistakes. For who would suffer for his sins if this were so?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah. So the ego wants us convinced that we are mythical me, we have separated, we are sin incarnate, and we deserve everything that we get. And it's the will of God.
And it's the will of God.
That's right.
Wow, talk about insanity.
Total insanity.
Oh my Lord. Oh well.
And so we come to the criterion for choice, which is the hardest to believe because its obviousness is overlaid with many levels of obscurity. If you feel any guilt about your choice, you have allowed the ego's goals to come between the real alternatives, and thus you do not realize there are but two. And the alternative you think you chose seems fearful and too dangerous to be the nothingness it actually is.
Right.
That's kind of what you were just saying, sis, about is this going to increase guilt in my brother and therefore myself? That's definitely the ego's choosing, yes? And it's valueless.
Yep, that's it right there. It's very simple, really, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Coreen needs guilt and fear to believe, to keep the belief running that she exists. Yeah. And so I'm going to choose apart from God. I'm going to live apart from God. I'm going to have relationships that are not holy but special in order to keep this myth alive and seemingly thriving.
And I think that, a big contributor to that is the temptation to make our decisions, our choices, day to day, minute to minute, without presence. And what I mean by presence with a capital P is presence as the Holy Self or with the Holy Spirit, to really be present. Is this in alignment with the vertical? Is this in alignment with the truth? Am I in alignment with the truth?
Yeah.
It really involves the undoing of special relating. That is huge. Yeah.
Right, because all special relating, all of it produces guilt.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
What's it feel like when somebody comes up and asks you to do something that you are highly uncomfortable to even consider, but you say yes. You'll do it. Why? Because people pleasing, because you're trying to get accolades.
To like you.
What's that?
You want the ego in somebody else to like you.
Like your ego.
Yes, exactly. It's so toxic. And you know that the guilt has a cost. There's a little price tag hanging under everything that we do that attracts guilt.
Yeah.
It's not going to be unnoticed. It's going to be projected out there and come back at you in one way or another. Yeah.
That's how the ego.
Yeah.
That's how the ego works.
Okay. All things are valuable or valueless, worthy or not of being sought at all, entirely desirable or not worth the slightest effort to obtain. Okay. I think he means it. Choosing is simple just because of this. Complexity is nothing but a screen of smoke which hides the very simple fact that no decision can be difficult. That is so true. If we hold it up to these guidelines, no decision can ever elude us. It can never be so convoluted. I don't know what to do. Complexity is our defense from having to make the decision. Thank you. What is the gain to you in learning this? It is far more than merely letting you make choices easily and without pain. Heaven itself is reached by empty hands and open minds, which come with nothing to find everything and claim it as their own. We will attempt to reach this state today with self-deception laid aside and with an honest willingness to value but the truly valuable and the real. That was something that Nouk and I were talking just before we got on here. It's the difference between the valuable and the valueless. And I think, boy, it just comes down to, is it real or not? Is anything real going on or not?
And I think at a practical level too, sis, I remember going through a period where I felt tremendous pressure from other people as I was going through this sorting out period. What I mean by sorting out the valuable from the valueless, you know, it wasn't so simple for me at first. I don't think it's very simple for anybody at first. Yeah. And so I think it's really important to come up with some kind of an immediate response, that a verbal response that we can use when we're feeling pressured by another person to make a decision, right? Particularly in our special relationships, because, you know, the other takes it for granted that we will respond as we have in the past. But now we're going to change that response. We're not going to respond to the valueless, with the valueless anymore. We're going to respond with the valuable. But in order to sync ourselves, you know, in alignment and give ourselves the pause necessary, like a divine pause necessary to be able to, we might need a minute, we might need an hour, we might even need 24 hours, whatever, a week, to find what the valuable is and the meaning the valuable response. So we need to come up with something at a practical level to be able to say to that person without offending them, hopefully. Look, I need to take a pause on this. And for me, this is what I say, I need to feel into it, what the right decision is.
Right.
And if you could give me that time, I would really appreciate that.
That's good. Yes. So there is a way, instead of saying piss off, you stop. You say, old me wanted to say piss off, or the old me wanted to say da da da, you know, or wants to be reactive. But because of this path that I'm on, I need to take a time out for myself because this is so new for me, just to get some clarity. That's it. You don't need them to agree, disagree. It's about you. You're taking ownership for your path and this new practice of the knee-jerk reaction comes up. Hold on a second. That's the ego. It's going to do something for it's going to choose guilt and it's going to choose the valueless. So I want to take a minute and get really clear with him and then come back and say, out of love, I'm taking this time because I don't want to act inauthentically with you. So the Holy Spirit will give you the right words, but always make sure that it's about you and that you don't want to say something that you don't mean. You love this person too much to be inauthentic.
Oh, I love that. Love that. Thank you.
Takes the defensiveness right out of the equation. So, okay, so we're practicing the pause. Okay, our 2 extended practice periods of 15 minutes will begin with this. I will not value what is valueless. And only what has value do I seek, for only that do I desire to find. And then receive what waits for everyone who reaches unencumbered to the gate of heaven, which swings open as he comes. I love that.
Wow.
Should you begin to let yourself collect some needless burdens or believe you see some difficult decisions facing you, be quick to answer with this simple thought. I will not value what is valueless, for what is valuable belongs to me.
Wow, that's a big lesson, isn't it?
Oh, it's really big. It's chopping the ego thought system off really too at the knees. It's a great way to know when you've left yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you, sis, and thank you, beautiful family, for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.